Hello, and welcome to the U.S. Green Building Council annual member meeting. I am Isabel Poole, membership manager and your moderator for today. On behalf of our staff, our leadership, our board, and our community, I want to express our sincerest gratitude to you, our members, for your commitment to and support of USGBC's mission and vision. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome USGBC Board Chair Anyeley Hallová. Anyeley was elected to the USGBC Board of Directors by the membership community in 2021 and was appointed as chair of the board in early 2023. Anyeley brings almost 2 decades of sustainability-focused real estate development experience from mixed use to office headquarters. In 2020, Anyeley founded Adre, a real estate development firm focused on real estate projects that seek to create wealth for the Black community and underrepresented groups that traditionally lack access to real estate ownership and investment. Anyeley, I'm officially passing it to you to open the meeting.
Happy New Year and good afternoon, everyone. As Isabel mentioned, I'm Anyeley Hallová, Chair of the U.S. Green Building Council Board of Directors, and I'm pleased to formally open the USGBC annual member meeting at 1:02 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you for your support and involvement. Since the earliest days of the USGBC, members and volunteers have catalyzed the organization's vision, work, and impact. You are the energy behind the USGBC and why I'm so optimistic about our future. It's an honor to represent you on the board of directors. I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues on the 2023 USGBC board. As the organization continues to evolve to best serve you and advance our mission, the board's leadership and vision are critical to our success. In that spirit, I'd like to remind everyone that voting is now open to ratify the 2024 USGBC board slate, which includes 2 current board members and 1 new candidate. Each of these remarkable individuals is part of the USGBC member community and an expert and a leader within our industry. Please scan the QR code on the screen to learn more about the candidates and cast your vote. So one of the reasons I've been looking forward to this event is because I get the opportunity to reflect on the incredible achievements of our organization and community. Last year, we committed to strengthening our long-term organizational positioning, operations, and transparency. So I'd like to take a moment to talk about how we're delivering on those commitments and what it means for the community. First, USGBC completed a major organizational restructuring and significantly strengthened its capacity by hiring more than 50 new staff to fill new and existing positions in 2023. This includes key members of the executive team and positions supporting our work in public policy, education, standards development, technical support, and development of our technology platform. What's more, we successfully achieved these objectives while meeting our 2023 earnings target and increasing mission-aligned revenue by a projected 12% year over year. I'm incredibly proud that the USGBC is financially strong and well-positioned to serve its community, drive value and innovation, and deliver impact at the speed and global scale that is necessary to transform our industry in the years ahead. Second, I spoke to you last year about our collective obligation to advance equitable outcomes within the USGBC and our community, and how much it means to me personally as a Black female founder of a real estate development firm. So I'm pleased to provide an update today on how we're turning that obligation into action. Last year, more than 40 USGBC staff participated in equity and diversity training. And I'm excited to let you know that we've begun developing an internal organizational diversity, equity, inclusion, which is DEI, strategy and staffing plan that will strengthen our internal culture and external impact in alignment with our shared values. With regard to how we show up in our communities, we've established the LEAD Equity Working Group, which is focused on elevating equitable outcomes in the new LEAD version 5 rating system, including through a prerequisite ensuring all projects conduct a social impact assessment. I expect that members will have opportunities to provide feedback during the planning processes this year, and I can't wait to see the outcome of these initiatives. Third and finally, we committed last year to update the USGBC strategic plan, providing you with clarity on our key priorities. As you may have seen, today we made good on that commitment by publishing the USGBC's 2024 to 2026 strategic plan. I'm so excited for Peter to describe his vision for how the USGBC will grow the community and empower members to advance decarbonization, health, equity, and resilience in the built environment over the next 3 years. I would encourage everyone to take a few minutes to review the plan. Your feedback is always welcome. And as you may know, operating a world-class organization with members and stakeholders across the world is incredibly hard work. And I'd like to take a moment to thank the USGBC team, especially Peter Templeton, President and CEO, and Lisa Revitt, the Chief Operating Officer, for achieving these critical milestones that lay the foundation for success now and far into the future. Last year, we celebrated USGBC's 30th anniversary. It was wonderful to have that time to reflect on what this community has achieved, but also spend the time reflecting on where we want to achieve or what we want to achieve in the next 30 years and beyond. That new chapter starts right now, which is why we need your involvement as members and to support activating new members more than ever. With a strong and growing community behind us, I have no doubt that the USGBC's greatest impact is still to come. Thank you once again on behalf of the Board of Directors, staff, and the entire USGBC community. We look forward to working with you to achieve our shared goals in the year ahead. It is now my pleasure to introduce Peter Templeton, President and CEO of the USGBC and GBCI. Thank you.
Thank you, Anyeley, and thank you to the entire USGBC Board of Directors for your leadership and your contributions to our work, especially the strategic planning efforts this past year. I want to also welcome all of the USGBC members joining us today. We appreciate you being here for our annual member meeting, and of course, deeply grateful for your dedication, leadership, expertise, support. That is the foundation of all of our work and its success. To start today, I want to thank you all for making our 30th anniversary so special. Last year was remarkable for so many reasons, but celebrating the accomplishments of our community over the past 3 decades was a personal highlight for me, and it was wonderful to celebrate with so many of you at Greenbuild and at events throughout the year. Anyeley mentioned a few ways in which USGBC is working hard to be the best version of itself, and I'd like to add a few more milestones for 2023 that this community should be proud of. Starting with our programs, we surpassed 10,000 LEED project registrations globally last year, more than doubling registration volume since the outset of the pandemic. We also hit all-time highs for total commercial project certifications, and especially for LEED existing buildings, O&M certifications last year, which is a great sign given the importance of existing buildings to achieving our decarbonization goals in the coming years. Additionally, ARC, our building performance management platform, added nearly 3 billion square feet of project space in 2023 and is now tracking 10 billion square feet in 148 countries. That's incredible growth. And as we announced last month, we've reintegrated the ARC subsidiary into GBCI to better leverage the ARC platform and invest in its continued growth. If you use ARC currently, nothing will change for you. But going forward, this move will allow us to improve ARC features more easily and create a consistent world-class user experience across the entire USGBC and GBCI product suite. Last year, we also delivered more than 250,000 hours of workforce education, with 25,000 people completing education sessions from our course catalog and about 30,000 individuals earning or renewing a LEED credential. As you all know, helping our industry acquire the skills needed to design, construct, and operate transformational buildings is deeply rooted in our mission and one of the primary ways that we scale our impact across the entire built environment. Throughout 2023, we made a major push to strengthen the visibility of our work and highlight the leadership of our community to expand its influence. That played out in many ways, and the industry took note. USGBC was mentioned in more than 2,000 US news stories, including in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Fortune Magazine, and Wired. We rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange and received recognition on the floors of the US House and the US Senate. We partnered with the Biden-Harris administration to help develop an industry-wide definition for zero-emission buildings that is currently out for public comment, and we released world-class research with RMI on embodied carbon and with Arup on the state of decarbonization in the US commercial real estate sector. We shared this work last month at COP28 in Dubai. 15 years after USGBC started attending the annual UN Climate Conference as a lone voice on sustainable buildings, it was especially gratifying for the proceedings of the largest COP ever to be held in 120 LEED certified buildings comprising Expo City Dubai, all located in the center of a LEED Platinum certified city. Having the work of this community showcased at the world's premier climate change conference every year over the past 15 years, and especially this year, has undoubtedly laid the groundwork for the buildings breakthrough agenda announced at COP28 to focus the attention of government and business leaders on opportunities to scale proven climate solutions across the global built environment. As Anyeley mentioned, we're also strengthening our industry leadership from within. One of my priorities as president and CEO is to build out our incredible team with highly accomplished leaders who can further elevate the work of our organization. In the second half of 2023, we welcomed our most recent additions to our management team, including our new Chief of Staff, General Counsel, Vice President of Education and Events, and our new Chief Products Officer, Sarah Zaleski, who I'll introduce in just a few minutes. We're thrilled to have them on our team, and I'm excited for all of you to work with them and to meet them all soon. These are significant milestones, and while I'm glad that we can take time to reflect on our collective accomplishments, I'm even more excited by what they will enable us to do in the years ahead. As Anyeley mentioned, this week we're releasing our 2024 to 2026 strategic plan. You should see on your screen a summary of the plan comprised of 5 key strategies that we have prioritized for the next 3 years. I want to thank all of the members and volunteers who contributed to the planning process last year. I hope that you will all take a moment to review the plan and to share your ideas for opportunities to advance these goals. Instead of discussing these strategies individually, I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss how they work together to form a vision for the future of USGBC, our green building community, and the value that we seek to provide to members. First, these plans take into account the rapidly evolving environment and the context around us and for our industry. Most notably, the need to accelerate progress on climate action. The UN's first global stocktake, issued last fall, found that humanity is not on track to reach the goals of the 2015 Paris Accords. If all nations achieve their current Paris targets, the UN forecasts warming of 2.5 to 2.9 degrees Celsius over pre-industrial levels by the end of the century, far beyond what scientists consider safe levels. And unfortunately, we already have a glimpse of what it would be like to live in that world. Researchers attributed more than 60,000 deaths to the historic heat waves that swept across Europe in 2022. 1.8 billion people, nearly 1 in 4 individuals worldwide, were living in drought conditions over the past 2 years. And 2023 was not only the hottest year on record, it was also the first year ever in which the average global temperature was at least 1 degree Celsius warmer than the pre-industrial averages every single day of the year, with half of those days being greater than 1.5 degrees warmer. In the US, home insurers are pulling back from vulnerable states and communities, citing climate risk and runaway costs, but that risk is increasingly our reality. We closed out 2023 with a record-setting 28 weather or climate-related disaster events exceeding $1 billion in damages. That's one climate-related disaster every other week on average. There is no denying that climate change is the defining issue of our time for us and for generations who come after us. The challenge is even greater for us working in the built environment, where it is not only about reducing our contributions to climate change, but also addressing its immediate impacts and long-term impacts. We need solutions that protect our health, our safety and well-being, and ensure the livability, affordability, equity, and resilience of our communities. Buildings are points of convergence within global economies and societies where these issues come together and where these issues can be advanced together. USGBC's next great challenge is to redefine leadership for this new era and to mobilize our industry behind it. That means empowering you, our members and our stakeholders, with the tools and programs you need to eliminate building emissions within our lifetime while making transformational progress on equity, health, and resilience in the built environment. Our work since I became president and CEO has been focusing on reshaping USGBC to support our community to deliver these outcomes at the global scale. And we're doing that in several ways. First, through LEED version 5, which is being developed to drive decarbonization progress at the intersection of health, equity, and biodiversity and resilience. This time next year, we'll be preparing to launch LEED version 5 globally, which will be a watershed moment for USGBC and our community. We will seek your input this year to ensure we meet our ambitious goals for LEED version 5, and you'll hear more on this in a moment from Sarah Zaleski. But I want to thank all of you in our community who continue to be involved with the LEED version 5 development process through our volunteer working groups and committees. Second, we'll deliver a suite of programs and tools that connect to market drivers like decarbonization targets, ESG commitments, and public policy initiatives and regulations, solving problems for industry practitioners at every step of their journey. These solutions, which include ARC and a new portfolio scale performance tool we're releasing later this year, will expand offerings for new and existing stakeholders and eliminate barriers to entry, ensuring pathways for performance improvement are accessible to all buildings and all communities. Third, we're continuing to invest in our community, strengthening our capacity to serve, support, and grow our movement, and advancing diversity and inclusion in our membership and equity across the built environment. USGBC's mission depends on connecting individuals across our industry to solutions, to networks, to opportunities, and to purpose and impact. We have members in 81 countries, and our programs are used by professionals in more than 180 countries and territories. To further the green building movement, we must expand and deepen this global community across all generations and geographies, understand their needs, deliver value, and maintain an inclusive space in which everyone sees themselves participating. To that end, later in Q1, we will send you a member survey to help assess how we can make USGBC membership more valuable for you, for your organizations, and for others needed in our community. I hope you'll take the moment to share your feedback with us. I also hope that you will review the strategic plan, which describes these themes in greater detail and our plans for advancing them. I look forward to engaging with many of you throughout the year, and especially at Greenbuild 2024. I hope you'll all be there with us in Philadelphia from November 12th to 15th, where we'll come together to share and celebrate more successes. In closing, it's easy to recall a time in the recent past when climate and social issues were not part of the building industry's consciousness. We've changed that. In USGBC's first chapter, we proved that sustainability transformation is possible. Thanks to your work, we've readied the market for innovation in policy, technology, and practice. We've made tremendous progress, and we are committed to empowering you to embark on a second transformation to eliminate building emissions while improving equity, health, and resilience in the global built environment. That is the vision that we are working towards together. Thank you again for your support and your involvement in this work. Honored to be doing this critically important work with you. Now, as I promised, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Sarah Zaleski, USGBC's Chief Product Officer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Good afternoon, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. So as Peter mentioned, I joined USGBC just 5 short months ago, but I've admired the work and the impact of this community for many years. I'm excited to use this time to provide a look ahead at LEED V5 development and a bit about the new technology platform we're developing that will significantly improve the LEED user experience. As Peter mentioned, the launch of LEED V5 and the new platform early next year will be an incredible moment for our entire industry. But first, I'd like to take a moment just to introduce myself. I feel very fortunate to have had a chance to work in this industry at the intersection of sustainability and the built environment for the past 2 decades. Early in my career, I was a lead consultant. After that, I helped establish the City of Baltimore Sustainability Office and create its Green Building Standard. And most recently, for the past 13 years, I've been at the U.S. Department of Energy in several roles, serving as senior advisor in the Building Technology Office, an Intergovernmental Programs Office, and helping to stand up many of the nation's climate and energy policy initiatives. Just before coming here, I was able to be part of the DOE leadership team that established the new Office of State and Community Energy Programs, and to oversee the deployment of over $15 billion in new programs and awards related to the Inflation Reduction Act and bipartisan infrastructure law. But the opportunity to join USGBC was special, which is why I'm thrilled to be here. This organization has transformed the building industry over the last 30 years, and I'm so excited of the many opportunities and frontiers for USGBC to strengthen and scale our impact in the coming years. One such opportunity, of course, is the launch of LEED V5. As many of you know, it's been a decade since we launched a full new version of LEED. A lot's changed in the past 10 years, due in large part to the momentum created by this community. We're developing LEED V5 to be the leadership standard that responds to today's imperatives, markets, and opportunities. we heard your collective call that to continue to demonstrate leadership, LEAD must focus on decarbonization, resilience, equity, and human health and well-being. These imperatives are embodied in the Future of LEAD principles shown here and reflected throughout the new version. They are also closely tied to our strategic plan, as Peter and Anyeley discussed earlier. We're committed to developing LEAD v5 in a way that offers enhanced value and relevance to the market. We're achieving this through thoughtful evolution in the content of the standard, the process of how it's created and updated, and the delivery of an enhanced user experience. I'll start with the content. LEAD v5 is built around a restructured LEAD rating system framework, at the top of which are 3 system goals: climate action, quality of life, and ecological conservation and restoration. These goals represent the core areas where LEAD can and must have significant impact on the buildings industry. They're the overarching areas of focus that will guide the next several versions of the rating system and serve as the mechanism for prioritizing how project teams are rewarded for pursuing various strategies. One of the primary ways we expect to drive market transformation towards these goals is through an allocation of points that directs project teams towards recognized strategies. Under the current V5 draft, roughly 50% of the points are dedicated to climate action, 25% to quality of life, and the remaining 25% to ecological conservation and restoration. Let's take a closer look at climate action and decarbonization. I'm excited to say that LEAD v5 is a significant step in aligning buildings with the 2030 and 2050 Paris Climate Accords targets. We facilitate and accelerate market transformation by increasing carbon literacy of the industry. For instance, LEAD v5 will provide all buildings with an operational greenhouse gas emissions projection of their business as usual emission scenarios through 2050. Including mapping against regulatory requirements such as building performance standards in affected jurisdictions. It also establishes credit requirements that reward strategic decarbonization planning to help projects create a decarbonization roadmap regardless of the project's starting point. Of course, we aim to deliver great operational and carbon savings, but operational reductions are only one piece of the puzzle, as we know. LEAD v5 also promotes embodied carbon reductions through targeting high-impact material streams for diversion and rewarding reuse of targeted materials during renovation, remodeling, or reconfiguration. On the transportation side, electric vehicles infrastructure is also addressed. Last, recognizing the future grid reliability concerns that may result from increasing peak loads, v5 establishes credit requirements that reward strategies to harmonize building operations with the grid and variable supply. Things like including better envelope and ventilation systems, energy storage technologies, and peak shaving strategies. I mentioned earlier that a lot has changed in the past decade. One of those changes is the emergence of ESG frameworks that enable the global financial system to measure the environmental and social risk of their investments in companies and assets. I want to share the results of a recent analysis which reviewed the requirements of various ESG frameworks and mapped them against both LEED version 4.1 for existing buildings and the draft V5 existing building rating systems. It found that the draft V5 rating system is much better aligned with the major ESG frameworks, particularly related to climate risk and opportunity, net zero targets, water management risk strategies, emission targets, and emission reduction initiatives. We have not yet shared this research publicly and wanted our members to be the first to know. I'd like to spend a few minutes sharing a bit about the evolution in the process of how LEED is created, LEED v5 was created, and how it will be updated. We've committed to moving to a 5-year development cycle for LEED to provide users with more predictability, reliability, and timeliness in what is defining leadership. One of the critical elements of LEED, as you know, is the consensus-based approach that ensures market feedback. We're glad to share that we now have 3 new LEED consensus committees, one for existing buildings, one for design and construction, and a new one for cities and communities. These committees represent specific markets and come together at the beginning of the development cycle to guide the creation of the LEED rating system and ensure applicability to its respective markets. They also act as a consensus body during the rating system ballot process. You have also helped us stand up 2 new working groups, one focused on diversity, equity, inclusion, and one focused on resilience. These groups have enabled us to expand both the space and the expertise to integrate these critical components into LEAD v5. I want to take a moment to extend a huge thank you to the many members on the call today who serve as volunteers on either a committee or a working group. Nearly 200 individual volunteers gave several thousand hours total of work on the LEAD development last year. LEAD is going from development to market in roughly half the time as previous versions. Some of the changes that we are making to increase efficiency to market include adding additional staff to our technical development team, beginning creation of V5 technical and educational resources earlier to limit the lag between completion of the rating system and public launch, and welcoming feedback early and often so we can absorb that feedback into deliverables as soon as possible. You should now see a more detailed timeline for LEAD v5 EB and D&C, including the planned launch for February 2025. The period between now and release is one of the most exciting times for the USGBC community. While the volunteers and USGBC staff have been working closely on this rating system content, this is the time we are able to engage even more closely with other stakeholders to share the work we've done and collect and react to your feedback. As many of you know, a beta version of existing buildings V5 rating system was released at Greenbuild last fall. That document is publicly available now with an online feedback portal. We highly encourage you to review and provide your thoughts. We are aiming to open a formal public comment period for both EB and D&C versions in April. This is a critical inflection point for you to tell us what you think we're doing right and what can be improved. Given the increased global focus on sustainability, as well as significant advancements in related disciplines and technologies, we're relying on the presence of our community now more than ever. Before I conclude, I want to mention our plans to offer you and our other stakeholders an enhanced user experience. We want your LEAD v5 experience to be intuitive, streamlined, and just plain better. For the past year, USGBC and GBCI have been hard at work at developing the next generation of LEAD Online. This new digital technology platform will modernize the LEAD experience from end to end, eliminating many of the limitations and pain points of the current system. It will offer a consistent, intuitive user experience that unites USGBC's programs in a single digital environment and includes data integrations and automations that will enable you to import and export project data with a few clicks. The platform will launch in parallel with LEAD v5 early next year, with new features and functionality continuing to build in stages over the next several years. A few other enhancements you can expect to see early next year include new formats, content, and delivery options for our user guidance and education that modernize our legacy reference guides. A credit library where international compliance path and regional priority credits will join innovation credits and pilot credits in a more centralized, dynamic, and consistently updated format. And LEAD review reports, demonstrating project-level impact in formats that you can readily share and articulate with your stakeholders. These are just a few of the new features that we're working on, and I'm excited to share more with you throughout the year and at Greenbuild 2024 in Philadelphia. In closing, this QR code will take you to LEAD v5 landing page where you can find the latest news, resources, and updates. We have a feedback form where we welcome your comments on everything I shared today, including feedback on the principles of LEAD v5, credit requirements, on how to improve your experience with LEAD. I encourage you to check out the draft rating system and give us your feedback now, even before the public comment opens later this spring. We'd appreciate if you would also share this with your networks and consider volunteering for a LEAD committee. A call for volunteers to fill any committee vacancies will open later this spring. I want to thank you again for your support of USGBC and involvement in the next generation of LEAD. I'm thrilled to be here and looking forward to working more closely with many of you this year. I'll now hand it back to Isabel.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Anyeley, Peter, and Sarah for your remarks and insights. Now I am pleased to open it up to questions from our members. To submit a question, please go ahead and share them in the Q&A section of the platform, and I will be able to raise them to our speakers. We'll begin with some questions that were submitted in advance of the meeting, and that will allow for time for other questions to be submitted. So with that, let's get started. All right, so our first question is for the group. Peter, let's start with you. What are you most looking forward to accomplishing in 2024?
So as you've seen in the preview of the strategic plan, we fit an awful lot in terms of what we are trying to achieve this year. But a big priority for us since I've been back with the organization has been focus and making sure that we're really targeted on those that are going to have the greatest impact. And so you've heard us talk today about LEAD version 5 as a portion of that, really making sure that we have clear focus on the impacts that we're trying to achieve across the environment. So very much looking forward to advance that work on updating LEAD to ensure that we are addressing the topics that we have prioritized in that future of LEAD work. And so the public comment period, the feedback that we'll receive the market and helping us refine the versions of LEAD to release in Q1 of 2025 is really exciting endeavor for us. Along with this, we want to make sure that we're continuing our work to align across with our frameworks in the industry and ensure that we're building momentum off of other market drivers in the industry. And so really excited about continuing through partnership collaborations and through evolution of our own products to continue doing that work. One indication of that is the performance at scale work that we've committed to releasing later this year to help make sure that we have tools available that define pathways for entire portfolios to continue to focus on performance improvement and making progress towards decarbonization and other goals that have been set by their organizations. So very excited on all of those fronts and the opportunities that they present for us to work collaboratively across the entire industry to move forward towards our collective goals.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Peter. Anyeley, what about you?
I guess I wear two different hats. One, I'm chair of the board. So in that role, I would say I'm really excited about the work we're doing internally around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And, we've had two kind of aspects to this. One is the internal reflection on our organization, how we show up with regard to staffing and what we, the learning and opportunities to kind of challenge ourselves internally. And that work is really important because it's very hard to do the external work, which is really about creating equitable outcomes in the built environment when it comes to green building and essentially influencing the folks that have the brunt, who have the most impact from climate change. And so in that sense, I'm really excited about the internal work and also the external work that's going to come out of that. I would say with my other hat as a member, I'm actually really excited about the enhanced user experience. And everybody hears that internally because I'm sort of on the complete opposite end when it comes to the user experience. And I think that's going to transform, not only the goals people have internally and how the LEED certification helps them achieve those goals, but also just literally the user experience. So I'm really excited for those two aspects. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Anyeley. And Sarah, what about you? What are you looking forward to this year?
Thanks, Isabel. And Anyeley, thanks for setting me up well. So I would say, a lot of what I just talked about, the development of LEED V5, and then just the enhancements, that's really kind of comprehensive enhancements. We talked about the content, but really just how do we make it more agile and responsive to the needs of the market? How do we increase the time to market to get the tools out there and used into projects and applied? And then, getting into that rhythm of the every 5 years updating and really making sure that we're staying at the cutting edge of leadership. The other, I guess, two quick things I'll share is I'm also really excited about our efforts to really measure the impact of our entire community and the work that everyone's putting in and where we've gone, and then really looking at understanding that and where we're how we're going to leverage those to really accelerate our impact moving forward, and more to come from the organization on that. And we have a number of new teams here, including an innovation and research team, which is already put out some great research, and much more to come on that. But a lot of exciting things this year.
Yes, we definitely have a lot to look forward to. Thank you all for those really fantastic answers. This next question is for Sarah. Will there be any new collaborations with organizations or industry partners that may benefit LEAD in the years ahead?
The answer is yes. We were always looking for partnerships and, how to forge new partnerships, how to bring new folks into the fold. But I guess I'll highlight a couple of things that we're actively working on. So we're really excited to bring more building science and industry expertise to inform both LEAD v5, future versions of LEAD, and all of our other products, really. So last year, for instance, we partnered with RMI on an embodied carbon research. We also partnered with the Chemical Insights Research Institute, which is part of Underwriters Laboratories, on health and resilience research. So I think you can expect many more of these types of partnerships with our commitment to produce world-class research that is poised for market uptake and action. And I think another example of that Peter mentioned earlier is our partnership with ARUP last year related to the report on US building decarbonization. So the answer is a resounding yes.
Great. All right, Peter, this one is for you. Can you speak a bit more to the diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy for the year ahead?
Absolutely. But before I go there, I just want to echo Sarah's points on partnership there, because I think it's incredibly important. We know that the challenges that we face are not going to be handled by any one organization. We have to leverage our respective strengths and reach to build our networks, and obviously to leverage one another's tools and resources. And so 2023 was a great example through some of those points that Sarah had mentioned, of where we have leaned into partnerships with organizations, those that Sarah mentioned, others that I mentioned earlier, the White House, IWBI, in terms of the streamlined pathways for advancing both health and sustainability through the work on LEAD and WELL. Other types of opportunities are presented across our entire industry that we want to continue to build on this year, and we're excited about those ideas coming forth through the member community and through the larger stakeholder community as we progress with our work. One of those areas that will benefit from partnerships is our efforts around DEI and equity in the built environment. And so really excited to be putting ourselves on an intentional pathway, to address those opportunities and ensure that we're going to achieve our goals effectively, both for the organization and for the community and the mission that we're trying to advance. To talk specifically to that, we've been on this journey for several years. We've undertaken assessments of our progress previously to inventory the work and how far that we have to go. We've undertaken organization-wide trainings that include trainings for our board leadership, our volunteer leadership, as well as staff members throughout the organization, and continued that this year. Also, of course, standing up groups like the Equity Working Group that will help inform the efforts that we undertake moving forward. But this year we have also joined with a partner, Perception Strategies, that has worked with many organizations in our space and beyond to help them to create defined strategies for addressing diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging in the areas that we have committed ourselves to advance as an organization. So I'm excited to put ourselves on that plan. This work is beginning now, that we are setting the course over the first half of this year to continue building on that inventory and that understanding of the needs that we need to prioritize organizationally in order to ensure that we are positioned to be effective contributors to a more equitable built environment, and certainly a more equitable organization both within USGBC and GBCI. So that will involve engagement across our community, starting, of course, with ourselves as staff members, our volunteer leadership, as well as our broader community, to provide input and help inform how it is that we can do a better job. As I mentioned, the need for us to expand our community to make sure that we're engaging all of those that we're intending to serve effectively is an important aspect of that. And so we look forward to hearing from all of you about opportunities for us to extend the reach and certainly the benefits of our work to successfully inform those communities. And the process that we're undertaking with Perception Strategies is really help to provide some structure to that process and ensure, again, that we remain on track and keep our focus through that work.
Great. Thank you, Peter. All right, Sarah, another one for you. What is the anticipated timeline to share V5 for all rating systems? What is the V4 and V4.1 sunset date? And when will it be mandatory for all new projects to register using V5?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So, as I shared a bit earlier, so we are looking at early 2025, hopefully in February, to open both EB and DNC version 5 rating systems for registration. So that's pending. Registration date is, of course, pending passing ballot, but we're very optimistic about that. We will set a date for the sunset registration for LEED V4 and 4.1 later in 2025, probably, midway through that year, and we'll make sure to give the community plenty of notice, of course. I'll also mention that for LEED V5 cities and communities, we're just starting the visioning for that. So we just convened, as I mentioned earlier, the consensus committee around that, and we'll announce that date in the future for when that version will be launched.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, this next question is for both Peter and Anyeley. How can we address the challenges of making LEED V5 more adaptable to diverse market conditions, considering the global push for decarbonization, while recognizing that meeting new energy requirements may pose difficulties in certain countries?
So I will start if that's okay. I'm really excited to have this question. As I mentioned before, a big part of it is really identify what those market drivers are. What are the other frameworks that are driving progress in this direction? And we know in different regulatory environments that we're seeing some progressive pathways, for pushing for greater performance of buildings over time. We're certainly seeing investors and insurers and others asking more questions about the performance of buildings, whether it's related to decarbonization strategies, equity, or around issues related to resilience. And so we want to make sure that our programs are closely aligned. We have been working to make sure that we are cognizant of all the other frameworks that our stakeholders are engaging with beyond just the individual buildings in many cases, and making sure that our work is going to help them contribute to requirements that are placed on them around reporting and performance improvement related to those frameworks. It is really a huge challenge for us, but we want to make sure that we are focused on these opportunities for alignment and the momentum that's being built up in those drivers across the industry to engage more broadly with the entire movement towards decarbonization, equity, resilience, and health that we want to represent in the built environment.
I'm not quite sure that question was for me, given the intensity of it. However, I did want to say that what's great about our board now, and then obviously coming into 2024, is kind of the diversity of expertise that each board member brings. And so really, I think that's been a focus in the board, enhancement and creation, and moving also with the staff, new organizational leadership, is to ensure that we have people that represent, I guess, or really feel passionate about areas of resilience, social equity, embodied carbon. A personal interest of mine is on, mass timber and thinking about the structure of buildings, and really thinking about carbon neutral buildings. So I guess that's to say, we're not only board members with expertise, we're also users of the products, and we get to participate in this also. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm excited that I have more expertise, and something that we definitely should never forget. And I think of this more coming into 2024 is really about indoor air quality, because a lot of the things we're focusing on eventually affect climate change issues with regard to fires, airborne diseases. I mean, these things are actually related to changes in our climate, and so I think we should always remember to include that health and health outcomes in this conversation.
Great. Thank you both. I think that was a fantastic answer. Sarah, this one's for you. Can you elaborate on the ESG slide you referenced in your remarks?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I think, we're all aware ESG has become a huge driver to a lot of the investment decisions, and certainly made around buildings and, assets at both the portfolio and the asset level. So we wanted to make sure that as we're setting up our rating system, we're not missing opportunities to align with those frameworks, so that we're doing that both in content, in terms of kind of metrics and data, but also in terms of the integration with the hub. And so, we're continually looking back at some of the most widely adopted ESG frameworks and trying to do a crosswalk with our development and how well those are aligned. And really pleased to see that there's a drastic improvement in alignment between V4.1 and V5. And so more on that to come, and certainly, hoping that stays consistent through all the balloting process, but really thrilled to see that, understanding that there are a lot of platforms out there that our users, many of our users are reporting to. And so that's been another one of our focus in developing the data hub, is how do we facilitate the exchange across some of those platforms with our technology platform too, again, to try to enhance the user experience.
Thank you, Sarah. Peter, can you speak a bit more to how USGBC is helping members to secure funding through IRA and other related programs?
So I'm so glad we got this question. So please know that no one is more committed than we are to making sure that these funds are used to their full potential. This is an enormous opportunity that we have here, where we recognize that in other geographies around the world, that different approaches have been taken to advance climate action. In the US, we're very fortunate that there has been a huge investment made to incentivize action in this direction, and we want to make sure members of our community are benefiting from it, because we know that you're well positioned and well informed to be able to lead and show that this can actually achieve the outcomes that are intended through this commitment, this investment. And so we have, on an ongoing basis, been delivering educational programs out to our community, often in partnership with other industry associations or organizations, to ensure we have the widest reach. We're tracking this very closely as a team as more information becomes available about the different channels through which funding is available. Please continue to monitor the opportunities that are presented. The past sessions that we've delivered are all available as recorded on our website. We'll make sure as follow-up to this that we send out some links and information about how to access that. But we will continue to make sure that our community and those adjacent communities are aware of the opportunities that are being presented. Now that the funding is making its way through the agencies into states and local communities, we want to make sure that all of you in the different disciplines and different sectors that you represent are aware of what opportunities are available for you.
And I wanted to add to that. Peter alluded to thinking about the value that we provide to our members, and really thinking some of the conversations we've been having about the different scales, right, of members being some folks are interested in a portfolio-wide strategy, and then all the way down to the small business owner, right, who's just focused on one building at a time. So really trying, for me, I've been really thinking about how do we provide information around this funding, but for folks at different scales of operation.
Good point. Thank you both. Sarah, for you, does the LEED V5 update include LEED multifamily and LEED for homes protocol? And then if so, how is that protocol being handled?
Yeah, great question. So the residential space is something that we're going to be taking a really close and strategic look at in 2025. So we will be doing some scoping about what is the most impactful place for USGBC and the LEED program to be in the residential space, both in kind of the single family and multifamily. Obviously, the multifamily that's captured within the DNC will continue, but really thinking through, what are potential partnerships, what are potential platforms, how do we evolve our work in the residential space to really, meet the where communities are and where the market is right now. So more to come on that. I think 24 will be a year of a lot of, investigating about that strategy with, more programs and announcements of what that looks like in 25.
Great. All right, another question for you. When can we expect to see the LEED V5 new construction on the website?
Yeah, so our plan is for April to release that draft for public comment as well. So you'll get, there's a lot of consistencies across the existing buildings and the DNC versions. And so there's a lot of the similar themes in terms of a lot of the assessments and the prerequisites, but we will be releasing those with a planned April for public ballot. The reason that we did release the existing buildings first is we do understand that there are many more existing buildings out there, and there is just a huge need to really focus on existing buildings. So we were able to release that at Greenbuild, and then we're releasing the DNC version in April.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. Peter, excuse me, Peter, can you talk a bit more about what drove the decision to merge the USGBC community LinkedIn pages into the single market insights page, and then to discontinue the Facebook and Instagram channels?
Great, another question, and I'm glad that folks are paying attention. So this is a relatively recent update where we have brought together different channels that we're using on social media to try to make our messaging more cohesive and have a clarity of where information was going to be available. So first and foremost, there are still community level newsletters that we encourage everyone to subscribe to know what's going on in your local community and make sure that you're accessing that information. We have brought together a number of the previous community level channels into a combined market insights page to help see what's happening across our entire community and make sure that that information is elevated to broader audiences and that folks know where they can find information that they're looking for. We've also seen that that's been an effective mechanism for inspiring other activity to occur across different communities, and want to make sure that folks have visibility to what's happening within the larger USGBC community. So we'll also share follow-up, I'm sure, with where to find information in the new channels. We also want to continue individuals who are active in the local communities to use their own channels for distributing information around activities that are happening locally, and to continue tagging USGBC so that information gets elevated and that we can highlight that in our market insights work. But certainly want to make sure that we're having a more streamlined, more accessible channels for folks to be able to find the information that they're looking for relative to local activities, as well as activities across our entire community.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that insight. All right. This last question is for Sarah. How will resilience be incorporated into LEAD v5 in a meaningful way?
Excellent question. So there's a few different ways. So one, as a prerequisite, we'll be requiring assessment of climate risks and potential impacts. So in that way, really trying to increase kind of the resiliency literacy, if you will, of really understanding, the building, what the potential risks are, and then thinking through what those trade-offs would be to address them and what potential pathways would be. We're also supporting the establishment of health resilience goals. And then I think also worth noting is, really looking at readiness measures and how can we use the credit structure to encourage proactive implementation of some of those. And then lastly, we're going to be looking, at technologies. Energy storage is one example, and other operational protocols that could facilitate continuity and rewarding points accordingly for that. So, a piece of it is having the leadership and then meeting the market, and really thinking through how do we use V5 and the requirement around the the resiliency assessments that we can then kind of leverage in the out years for V6 and beyond to build from that. So if we can get, resiliency assessments more common practice throughout the industry, and really, set the stage for addressing those, both now and then increasingly into the future.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you so much, Peter and Anyeley, for your time today. That marks the end of our Q&A session. So with that, Peter, I will pass it back to you for your closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Isabel. And I just want to thank everyone again for your time and for your great questions today. This really reinforces, the value of being able to engage directly and to learn from you about what are priorities that we need to set for the market and how it is that we can best serve you in the year ahead. USGBC's job has always been to deliver programs and tools to empower this community to transform the built environment and to strengthen the communities that we're trying to serve. And I hope what you've heard today has reinforced how it is that we plan to support you in 2024 and certainly in the years ahead. We hope to continue this dialogue. As we've mentioned, there are many points at which we need to hear from you this year, starting, of course, with our current board elections, but also continuing into the work we're doing on LEAD throughout the year. And the member survey that I mentioned earlier. So we hope that you will continue to provide feedback on how it is that we can best support you and how it is that we can continue to drive progress towards our critically important mission together. I'm so honored to be part of this community and to be on this journey with you together, and I thank you all again for your support. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Anyeley.
So thank you for the opportunity to answer your questions and discuss our priorities for the coming year. We are grateful for your membership and continued support of the USGBC's important work. As I mentioned earlier, please help us grow this incredible community by talking about your work with your peers and benefits of being a USGBC member. And I guess I would add post on social media also. I will now officially close our annual member meeting at 1:56 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you again for joining us.